Hi everyone, my name is Ali Ehsan. I'm a registered migration agent at Aussizz Group in Bankstown office. I'm taking today's session to discuss about recent changes, especially after department announced allocations for seats, states, and numbers were not as expected. So we have seen a lot of clients, aspirants, they are confused or they are disappointed, and they want to know what options are available for them. So the reason for today's live session is to discuss different types of options which are available for all of you, and what do we expect in coming months or year, or for migration program. So if you are anyone who is looking to apply for GSM visa or skilled migration in next 1 to 2 years, this session will be helpful for you to navigate your path. Now, I will just wait for more audience to join, and then of course we will start our session. I will briefly explain options, and then of course I will take your questions. If you have any queries related to your case, I'll be able to answer a few of them. I might not be able to answer all questions, but due to like less time, I'll try to answer as many questions as much possible, and we will do further sessions throughout the year, so you have the update. Now let's get started. So basically, now department has announced and they have allocated seats to states and regional for regional visas. Now we have seen that there was a reduction of at least 70% in those allocation across all states and regions. Now this effect we have seen this throughout all the states and regions. So it's not just with one particular state or region, but it's with all states and regions across Australia. Now, the main reason behind that, which with department has informed us about, is that because of last year's, they have backlog pending for visa applicants from last year, which they are still processing now. So they might not need too many new applicants for this financial year. Now, first thing is that we have done for calculations, we have looked into numbers, and we believe that there might be some changes either throughout within this financial year itself, or maybe there might be a decent increase in next financial year. So that's the first part. Now, see, in this scenario, there are 3 to 4 types of applicants. First are those who are, of course, in critical sector, such as nurses, teachers, or other medical fields. Now, there is no issue, or I don't see any concern for them, because all states and territories have still announced that they will be preferring, healthcare, teachers, and most of states are still giving preference to infrastructure-related occupations. So if you are from one of these backgrounds, you should not be worried about recent changes, but my advice will be to still focus on your point. So if you were previously targeting to get invitation at 65, now at least try to increase it to 70 to 75 if you are in these critical occupations, so you can stay ahead of the queue. Second, applicants are those who currently have high points. They are living in cities such as Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, or they are living in they are not living in regional areas. Now, and they have high points. Now, what do I mean by high points is like they have 90 points or higher by themselves. Now, we believe that they will still have good options, either from 189 visa or for 190, and they might not have to consider 491 at this stage. But depending on how a couple of invitation rounds go, they will still have more options in throughout the financial year. So again, that type of applicants should not be worried or concerned about recent updates. Now, third types of applicants are those who started they have skills assessment, they are at 80, 85 points, and they have option to increase points, but they were initially planning not to do anything because they believe that this is a good enough score. Now, to all such applicants, my recommendation is to try for more points, try to increase your points. And you can look for factors such as, because I have received few queries where applicants are married, applicant is married and their partner possibly can get a skills assessment, but they never considered that pathway because it was not needed in their opinion. Now you can look for that option, like of getting your partner skills assessment. In some cases, it can take longer time. For example, if your partner has done accounting or bachelor BBA or any bachelor's degree from overseas, and your partner can get proficient English, now you can consider getting their assessment through CPA. They might have to do a few additional units related to accounting, but that is one option which your your partner can do. No, it might take 6 months, 9 months, but still, if you start that process now, eventually they can get skills assessment. Now, there are few applicants, their partners have done engineering degrees or IT degrees. Now, if someone has partner who has done engineering degree, they can get a skills assessment through Engineers Australia directly without work experience. Or if they've done IT and they have 2 years experience from overseas, or they have done qualification from Australia with 1 year experience or a PY, they can also get skills assessment. Other, many of people think that business or marketing related occupations do not have any scope. But we have seen if your partner has done, let's say, a marketing or business degree from overseas, and he or she has at least 1 year work experience in last 5 years, they might be able to get skills assessment through VETASIS as a marketing or other VETASIS related occupations. So that is something that you can look for. Someone who is stuck at 80, 85 points, but they still can increase their points by doing these things. And of course, work experience, Australian work experience, 1 year, minimum 20 hours per week can also give you 5 points. So you can also look for employment in your nominated occupation, which most of people, they were not really bothered about this because they thought that they might have enough points. Now it's the time. If you have an option, try to look for a job in nominated or closely related occupation, so you can get 5 extra points from there. So now these type of applicants, I believe, still have good options depending on where they are living. Now, if you are living anywhere and you follow these and try to reach to 90 or higher points, you can have good options in future for PR. Now, one sort of applicants who are affected by all of this is applicants who cannot get high points. Now, someone who is from accounting background or business background or IT background or even engineering background, and they cannot get more than 75, 80 or 70, or even they have lower points, what they should be doing. First thing is, consider, evaluate your situation and see if you have any possibility of increasing your points. Second, if still you do not have any possibility of increasing your points, then it's better to consider a backup option as well. Now, either you do through yourself, or if you have a partner, either you can create a backup option through study, or your partner can create a backup option through study. That's one way. Second backup option such applicants can consider is basically moving to states or regionals and targeting 491. Now, I know that even 491 might be a bit more competitive as compared to what we initially thought, but there are still options which can be better than the options that you are targeting now. For example, we are still waiting. However, we're still waiting for most of the states to release their detailed requirements. But for instance, last year and for a few years, South Australia has all sponsored applicants who are living and working in outer region irrespective of their background. Now, if someone is an accountant, auditor, IT, and they have, let's say, 70, 65, 50, they have less points, they go to regional South Australia, outer regional of South Australia, work there for 6 months in any occupation, does not have to be in nominated occupation or skilled occupation, work for 6 months, 30 hours per week, and can apply for 491 from there. Now, this is the last known requirement it might get changed. So keep following us to get further updates on this. But if similar option is available, that is one very good option. Now, I understand that due to competition, that might get changed from 6 months to 9 months or 12 months, competition might go up. But still, you have to realize that if there is an option and you start working towards that option, even that 9 months or 12-month period will pass. So you need to have that hope. You have to basically target these options with positive mindset. Now, let's say if an applicant is living in Sydney. Now, even in next 1 year, they will not have they might not have similar option which they can get in 1 year from South Australia, outer region of South Australia. So rather than thinking that, okay, they have also got less seats or they might not sponsor applicants as they were sponsoring in last years, you should, focus on, you should do comparative analysis in these cases. Okay, if you are doing comparative analysis, you will find out that there are still easier options available in other states or regions, and wait for a few states or regions to update their requirements and then make more informed decisions. But these kind of applicants, I will still suggest them to have a backup option. Now, what sort of backup options you can have? You can do, if you have a visa, you can do trade course. You can look for, critical occupations such as teaching, nursing, community work. You can look for civil construction design courses. You can look for other, 1 to 2 years study options, which can give you another skills assessment and then open another pathway for skill migration. Now, at the same time, don't forget you have another option to get permanent residency, which is through employer sponsorship. Now, a lot of you might be aware of this option that there is something called employer sponsored visa, but many of you do not know basic requirements, and sometimes it can be really easy for many of you. Now, there are 3 types of employer sponsored visas or 4 types of employer sponsored visas. Now, 482 is there, which is temporary skill shortage. If any of you has 2 years of full-time work experience and a required level of qualification, and your employer is willing to sponsor you, you can ask them to sponsor you for 482. Now, it doesn't matter where your employer is, doesn't matter if your occupation is in the long-term list or short-term list, your employer can still sponsor you for 482. That's one option. Now, there is no cap for 482. So your employer, department does not put that in the programming level. So, department can grant many 482 visas. So that is one option. Now, it's a lot easier for, for employers, it does cost them money. Employers are, so let's say if you go to your employer might say that, it is costing us between $10,000 to $15,000. But then, you can convince your employer by, of course, they will have, if you have worked with them, they know your skills, they know the type of work you can deliver. And of course, if you leave, they might have to replace you, and that cost can be higher as well at the same time. So you have to consider, you have to, let your employer know. Many times we have seen applicants assume that their employer might not sponsor, but at the end of the day, when they speak to their employer is willing to sponsor them, and ultimately they get employer sponsored visa through their employers. Now, second option in employer sponsorship is 186 through direct entry. Now, with direct entry in 186, your occupation has to be in the long-term list. You need to have a positive skills assessment, competent English, minimum 3 years full-time employment in your nominated occupation or closely related occupation, and of course, a relevant qualification. Now, if you have these things and your employer is willing to sponsor you for a permanent visa, they can directly sponsor you for 186 under direct entry stream. You don't have to go to 482 and then apply for 186 in this case. Now, there is another type of 186, which is transition stream. Now, department already announced a few months back that they are bringing many changes in employer-sponsored visa. We believe that they will, the requirements for 482 or 186 will be, different to what they are now. They will be more employer, so they will incentivize employers and employees. So in that case, if you are, let's say, even getting sponsorship in short-term stream, you are likely to have a PR option through 186 PRT stream, even though your occupation is not in the long-term stream. So in 186 PRT, as of now, only applicants with occupation in the long-term skill list can apply. But in future, if new changes come into effect, irrespective of your occupation, whether it's in short-term or long-term, you might be able to apply. So that is also a very good opportunity for all of you who cannot get high points, especially applicants who are worried that they might not get skill visa. They can look for these options. Now, sometimes even if your employer is not willing to sponsor you for PR, but they can give you at least, they can sponsor you for 2 years. That might be enough time for you to gain enough experience, get points, and then target skill visas through 189, 190, or 491. So focus on this option as well. Then there is 494 visa. 494 is regional employer sponsored visa. For this, your employer has to be in regional area. There are more occupations available for this visa. Now, requirements are similar, that you need 3 years of full-time experience, a positive skills assessment, employer has to be in regional, a relevant qualification, and again, employer has to sponsor you in this. Now, for example, there is an occupation retail manager. So many of you, while you were on a student visa or while you were on PR, you might have worked as a retail manager. Now, if you have completed 3 years experience and you have a bachelor's degree, you can get your skills assessment and get employed to sponsor you from the regional area of Australia. Now, that is also a very good option, which can later on lead you to PR. And then there is a training visa. Now, training visa does not lead to PR directly, but it applicants who do not have required experience or who need training for registration or for experience enhancement, they can go for training visa option as well. Now, in training visa, your employer has to make a training plan. They have to explain what sort of training do you need, and then using that, you can buy more time in Australia. So see, these are few options that all of you who are confused or who think that there might not be a prospect in future. If you are looking into all the options broadly, you'll see that there are options available. Now, again, still there are decent numbers. So if I go 2 years back and if I see the situation at the beginning of COVID, no one thought that during COVID period, department will even invite those many number of applicants. And we saw that for 189, there were hardly 1,200, 1,500 invitations throughout the financial year. Now, there were many IT and non-IT applicants who still received invite during COVID period. So that was the worst period that we have seen in maybe a decade or so. So even if department or if applicants were able to get invitations during that period, this time is, I believe, much better than COVID period. Now, this is again, number is similar to pre-COVID level, like in 2019 or early 2020. So I believe number is not that bad. Yes, it's not as per our expectation. It's lesser than what we thought. It's lesser than what department's allocation says. But still, I believe there can be an opportunity for many of you directly for 189, 190, or 491. If not, consider backup options. Consider doing another course which can give you another skills assessment and can open other priority occupation for you. Or consider applying for employer-sponsored visa through your employer if you have required work experience. So do look into all these options, and now I'll take questions from all of you, because the main purpose of today's meeting was, today's session was to give you an update, to tell you what sort of things you can look into. And one thing on top I want to add, so many of you will make a decision in panic and will change states without any rationale behind it. So make sure you know where you are going, you understand their requirements, state or regional requirements, before you make decision to move. Now, all states and regions got their seats slashed. It's not one state or one region. So if you are moving, let's say from NSW to Queensland or from Queensland to NSW, vice versa, then you first have to evaluate your occupation, your points and everything, and then make a move. Because all states, as I said, got their seats slashed. So everywhere it will get competitive. Last year invitation rounds or last year cutoff might not be that relevant right now for you. So if you are planning to change states, at least wait for all of states to release their requirements and wait for maybe 1 or 2 invitation rounds to see where trend is going, which occupation is being preferred. But if you are from critical occupations or you have high points, I will suggest you to currently stay where you are and wait for further updates. So let's go to questions now. So Preeti Patel has asked, if you apply 190 for WA, do you need to move to WA? Are you talking? So if if you are talking about lodging nomination application, then WA prefers applicants who are living in WA. So if you are applying while living in WA, your chances will be higher. So yes. So planning for 119 ACT, but I'm living in Queensland at the moment. Can I do that? So Athia, you have to move to ACT. You have to live there for 6 months before you can apply for 190. You also have to meet their work requirements. You have to meet their Canberra metrics requirements. But yes, if your occupation is on Queensland on ACT list, do consider that. But please keep in mind that Canberra only has 600 seats for subclass 190, so which is not great number. So Sayyid has asked, I have 80 points for 190 NSW, 75 for 189 motor mechanic. What are changes for invitation chances, I believe, for invitation, and I'm not working as of now because I'm on a student visa. So see, Sayyid, your points are a bit on lower side, but depending on how but your case, 189 round will be really important, because if we see department gives preference to motor mechanic or trades for 189, we'll see the number drop across all the states and regions. But if you have, let's say, 75 or 80, this is not a very high score as of now. But my suggestion to you will be to wait in NSW and also consider 491 option once NSW opens up for 491, because you might find better option there. So Jacqueline has asked that I live in Sydney. I have 80 points in my EUI 491. I'm software tester. It would be better to move to South Australia in regional order to. So Jacqueline, 80 points for 491 in NSW is not a good score. It was not very good score even in last financial year as well. So you might consider other state or regional options or try to increase your points, because with these points you will face challenge in NSW as per as we are expecting. Jagan has asked that WA 491 with 75 points, computer network, living in WA, graduate from Victoria. So if 75 points mean you have 60 points of your own, and looking into current numbers, look, it will become competitive because WA is going to give preference to health occupations, building construction, education again, and you are not a graduate. So, but stay there, try to increase your points and keep on targeting 491. And also, I will recommend you to open a backup option. If you have a visa, then maybe try studying something else as well. Maybe building construction related, health. sector related or teaching related, which can give you a backup option. So, okay. Muhammad has asked that what are the chances for Afghan students for master degree? So, Muhammad, I'm not sure what exactly you mean. Are you talking about student visa, or if you can elaborate it a bit more, I'll be happy to answer this question. So, Chandrika has asked that he is working in Queensland as a civil engineer. Am I able to get invitation in WA, interstate? Thank you. What are the chances in Queensland in civil engineering? Thank you. So it depends on how many points you have. If you are working in Queensland, I will not advise you to leave Queensland as of now, because WA does not have any such requirement that you have to work there for 6 months or 1 year before you can be eligible. So wait for Queensland to start their invitation rounds, so we can assess where the point cutoff is. If you are 10 points, 15 points behind, I'm talking about 190 or 491 either. Yeah. If you are 10, 15 points behind, then consider some other option as a backup, or try to increase your points. Now, it's still worth lodging expression of interest for WA 190, even though you are not living in WA, but generally, you will not get higher preference there. But yes, because you are from civil engineering and building construction, so you might have some advantage there, and you might get 190 without job contract as well. So it's worth applying for WA, but do not move to WA as of now. But wait for Queensland to release its requirements and couple of rounds and see where they are, what invitation, what is the cutoff for points. Ravinder, you have asked a question related to 189 grant for chef. So see, Ravinder, there are, for grants, again, there are no set dates. It depends on case to case. Website can say like the time period is less or more, but that is just like, calculated on the basis of number of applications they receive and number of grants they issue. But actually, there are many applicants just like you who are waiting for grants, and department has acknowledged this part, that they've got many applications. That is one of the reasons why they have reduced allocations for this financial year. So I assume they will fast track visa grant processing now, since they will not have many new applications coming. Is there any chance for architect draft person with 95 points for 190 for WA? I live in and work in Victoria. Now, Tina, see, yes, because depending on sector. So I believe your occupation will fall under building sector, because it's architect draft person, and you have 95 points. Now you can have good chances of getting 190 from WA, but see a couple of rounds. If WA is not issuing invites or not giving preference because you are not living in WA, move to WA straight away, and then that you'll have very high chance, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait for 1 or 2 invitation rounds to see the trends. But I can say that yes, based on new updates, you will have good chances of getting 190. Pratap has asked that he has 80 points for 190 and 75 for 189. Working as chef in Victoria, what are the chances? And let me know your suggestion. Pratap, first thing is Victoria is yet to announce its New Year's skill list. So as we have seen during last financial years, or especially during last 2 months of financial year, Victoria started preferring health or critical occupations. Okay, so we might see something similar from Victoria given the number of seats they have. If that happens, you might have to reconsider your options. But for now, wait for Victoria to release its lists. And if you can increase your points through any ways that I've discussed, look for those. Or because you are already working as a chef, you may ask your employer to look for employer sponsorship, either 482 or 186 through direct entry, because department has allocated good number of seats for employer sponsored 186 visa. So Mohammed, chances of for getting student visa, no, see, department looks into GTE, which is going to be changed to GTS, as you know, there is news circulating. Now, with that, it might be hard to get a student visa unless and until your case is very strong. Now, we'll have to assess your individual profile to give you more customized advice, but meeting GTE criteria can be a challenge if you are from from certain countries. Chamath, again, 65 for 190 is not a very high score, I believe. And looking into the number of WA, my suggestion to you will be try to increase your points, and then keep on working and look for alternative options through employer sponsorship visa. Because especially if you're in trade, you're a chef, you have been working for last 2 years or 3 years, employer sponsor might be a lot easier option for you as compared to skilled if you cannot get high points. I'll take questions from other platforms as well. Kaushal has asked that lab technician is a good occupation. Yes, depending on like technicians, such as medical lab technician or medical laboratory scientist, they both are critical occupations. We have seen invitations for these occupations at minimum points. Now, as for states, look, depending on what new rules come in, you might move to different states. Even NSW used to be good state for these occupations. Now we have to wait for NSW to release its requirements. But yes, it's a critical occupation. You can have good chances through this. Ikra has asked that they've got 491 grant from WA, but currently living in Sydney. Visa expires in 2028. How soon shall we move to WA? So Ikra, see, there is no time from Department of Home Affairs like as to what minimum time you have to move. But if you are onshore, you should try to move as soon as possible. Now there can be delays because of you finding an accommodation, but reasonable period is generally 2 to 3 months if you are facing issue. Generally, I recommend my clients to move within a month if possible, but if you have any grounds that it is going beyond month, so generally 2 months, 3 months period can be reasonable depending on case-to-case basis. So Utsav, you have asked about student visa application changes. So my time is limited. I cannot answer that question here. We can, of course, our team will do some other sessions and you'll find that information there, or you can reach out to your nearest Aussizz branch. They will guide you through this process as well. Vaji has asked that they're working as materials engineer in Adelaide in 70 points for 189. What are your chances? So see, if you're working in South Australia, you can get access to broader occupation list, especially if you are living and working in nominated occupation or even closely related occupation, and their closely related occupation definition is different. So if your duties are matching to occupation which is on the skilled list, like your unit code is matching, and you have skills assessment, you will have good option of going consider 190 or 491. 189 might, looking into current trends, it might not be a very good option for you with current points. Yeah, so I'll just take one last question. Sorry, I've got too many questions. I was just due to limited time, I cannot cover them all. Sayed has asked that, can you tell us about CRICO's list for extension after pre-graduate? Do we have to do those courses from those particular institute, or are those the courses eligible in general? So, Sayed, so the graduate list is one list where they have given CRICO's code for a course. Now, if your CRICO's code for your course is in that list, you are eligible. If that's not on the list, you are not eligible. So that's how we define if you are eligible for extension or not. Okay. So thank you, everyone, for joining this session. Now, you can, of course, if you have more questions or queries, you can always reach out to us, to your nearest Aussizz Group branch. My name is Ali Ehsan, and I'm a registered migration agent. So you can also reach out to me or any of my team members all over Australia, or if you are overseas, we have branches in other countries as well. So thank you everyone for joining. I wish all of you best of luck, and stay tuned for more updates. Thank you.